So Afghanistan now seems poised on the brink of a complete Taliban takeover. Let's take a look at some of the top developments on the ground right now, with Afghanistan's second and third largest cities having fallen into Taliban hands. Kabul has effectively become the besieged last stand for government forces who have offered little or no resistance elsewhere. Heavy fighting is being reported from Maidan Shahar, just adjacent to Kabul, leaving the United States and other countries scrambling to airlift their nationals out of Kabul ahead of a feared all-out assault. India, Germany, Qatar, Turkey and several other nations have reaffirmed that they will not recognize any government in Afghanistan that is imposed through the use of military force. Many countries are scrambling to evacuate workers and citizens amidst a rapid Taliban advance. U.S. Embassy staff has been ordered to begin shredding and burning sensitive material as the first U.S. troops arrived in Afghanistan to help diplomatic staff leave. UN chief says that the situation is spinning out of control with devastating consequences for civilians. The Taliban advance comes as U.S. and other foreign troops have withdrawn after 20 years of military operations. The fighting has now raised fears that the gains made in human rights, the gains made since the militants were ousted from power in 2001, could be swiftly reversed. And we spoke with Aisha Tanzim. She's a war correspondent. She is the Voice of America bureau chief for Afghanistan and Pakistan. She is currently in Kabul, and we spoke with her for a ground report.
Some very important strategic border crossings with one with Pakistan, two with Iran, with other countries. So if they surround Kabul and stop everything from going in and out, the city situation here will deteriorate very, very quickly. So we don't know whether they're going to attack Kabul. We don't know whether they plan to just surround it and strangle it. However, what is becoming clear is within days, Taliban could reach the gates of Kabul from almost all sides. So obviously the Taliban have huge advantage at the negotiation table right now. It seems like they're winning the war, and some are saying that they've already won the war. However, it seems from the way they acted with Ismail Khan of Herat, from the way they allowed some senior government officials, captured them, including some NDS officials, and released them and allowed them to come to Kabul, it seems like the Taliban want to avoid the massive bloodshed that is definitely bound to happen if they attack Kabul. I mean, this city is very diverse ethnically. There are pockets who have long, standing grievances with the Taliban and vice versa. So if they try to attack the city, it's not just the Afghan government forces they'll be facing. A lot of other people will be resisting. So it seems like the Taliban are trying to encourage a different way, which is they're trying to send this message by releasing officials, etc., that if you let us take over, we will not go on a massive killing spree like we did last time. Nobody knows whether they'll stick to their promise, but the signs that they seem to be sending so far is that they want to do this without having to, spill as much blood as they did in the 90s.
Meanwhile, back home, underscoring that the pain of partition can never be forgotten, Prime Minister Modi announced that the 14th of August will be observed as Partition Horrors Remembrance Day, a day before India's Independence Day, also the day that Pakistan celebrates its Independence Day. Meanwhile, ahead of the 75th Independence Day celebrations, the Delhi police have made massive security arrangements in the national capital, especially at the Red Fort, from where Prime Minister Modi will be addressing the nation.
From barricades to roadblocks, there's heavy security across the national capital ahead of the 75th Independence Day celebrations. At the Red Fort, shipping containers have been placed at the main entry.
Apart from other security measures, Delhi police, learning from the Republic Day incident, has placed these metallic containers right outside Red Fort. Similar containers that were earlier placed at the borders of Delhi, where the farmers have been agitating for the past 8 months. And to give it a patriotic touch, they have painted these containers into tricolour.
The elaborate security arrangements across the national capital include 40,000 personnel securing the Red Fort, deployment of 9 anti-drone systems, air defense systems, deployment of NSG personnel at 30 locations, NSG snipers at 15 locations, surveillance by over 300 CCTV cameras, deployment of kite catchers, a ban on flying drones, UAVs, quadcopters, hot air balloons.
इस वर्ष चूंकि सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट दूसरी तरह का है, उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए कुछ रीइंफोर्समेंट ज़्यादा है। काउंटर ड्रोन टेक्नोलॉजी डिप्लॉय की गई है ताकि ड्रोन से अगर कोई कोशिश करता है डिस्टर्ब करने की फंक्शन को या हमला करने की, तो उसको काउंटर किया जा सके।
Along with checking of every vehicle entering Delhi to ensure the smooth and safe flow of vehicles across the city, 8 roads will be closed for general public from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. including Netaji Subhash Chandra Marg, Lotian Road, SP Mukherjee Marg, Chandni Chowk Road, Nishad Raj Marg, Esplanade Road and its link road to Netaji Subhash Marg, Ring Road from Rajghat to ISBT, Outer Ring Road from ISBT to Indraprasth flyover. Meanwhile, the agitating farmers at the borders of Delhi say they will be celebrating 75 years of independence at the protest site and in villages only.
ये इनके प्लान में शामिल है कि बदनाम कैसे करो। हम क्या करेंगे लाल किले पे जाके? फैलाएगा अपने खेत में, फैलाएगा अपने गांव में, फैलाएगा अपने ट्रैक्टर में, फैलाएगा और नेशनल फ्लैग सब सम्मान करते हैं।
The intense security measures are not only limited to Red Fort and the adjoining areas, but also at the borders of the national capital, where the farmers have been agitating for the past several months. And while the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha has said that no farmer will enter into the national capital to protest, but there will be Tiranga rallies across the country on the occasion of 75th Independence Day. With camera person Mohammad Mursaleen and correspondent Saurabh Shukla, Amakshay Dongre for NDTV.
And President Kovind hosted the Indian Olympics contingent recently back from Tokyo victorious at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. A high tea was organized at the Presidential Palace. The team, including the stars of Tokyo 2020 like athlete Neeraj Chopra, the badminton ace PV Sindhu, and of course our weightlifter Mirabai Chanu, all of them gathered for the event held on the eve of India's 75th Independence Day. And Satyamev Jayate has said the Congress, after Twitter restored Rahul Gandhi's account along with that of the Congress and some of its other leaders. This is a week after they were temporarily suspended for tweeting pictures of the family of a 9-year-old victim of an alleged rape and murder in northwest Delhi. The move came a day after he lashed out at the microblogging site. Twitter deemed the sharing of the images of the reported rape victim's family a violation of their rules. The former Congress chief had yesterday accused Twitter of interfering in the national politics of India and said that the shutting down of this handle amounted to an attack on India's democratic structure. And Karnataka's Chief Minister has said that schools in the state can open from the 23rd of August as was decided earlier in districts where COVID-19 positivity rates of less than 2% are being reported. Schools will initially open for students of classes 9 to 12, and after a meeting with experts, the Chief Minister said detailed guidelines will be worked out soon.
We have decided to open the schools from 9 to 12 in the districts where it is less than 2% positivity rate. More than 2 positivity rate, we are not allowing the schools to open. And all the parents and teachers and the staff should be vaccinated. Without vaccination, they can't enter the school premises.
And the Punjab Chief Minister has ordered a mandatory full COVID vaccination or negative RT-PCR reports for all of those entering the state from Monday, with strict monitoring, particularly of those coming in from Himachal Pradesh and Jammu, which are showing increased positivity for coronavirus amidst reports of COVID cases in schools. The Chief Minister has also directed that only fully vaccinated teaching and non-teaching staff or those recently recovering from COVID should physically teach in schools and colleges. And take a look at these visuals. An assistant sub-inspector of the Patiala police was injured when a car driver reportedly tried to run over him. This on Saturday afternoon. The incident took place in the city, And the ASI was conducting routine checking in the area ahead of Independence Day. The Chief Minister has tweeted that strict action has already been initiated and an FIR has been registered. And widespread irregularities, including tampered exam results under Madhya Pradesh's top state-run medical university that controls around 300 colleges, have emerged in a report commissioned by the government in what could be the biggest scandal of its kind since the 2013 Vyapam scam.
A massive scam unearthed at the Madhya Pradesh Ayurvigyan Vishwavidyalaya, which controls 300 colleges teaching medicine, dental studies, nursing, paramedicine, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Unani and yoga. 80,000 students appear for exams each year, overseen by the university. Examinations which have been found to be compromised by a government-appointed probe. After an RTI activist found that students who did not appear for the tests in the past few years were declared to have passed. A copy of the report, accessed exclusively by NDTV, has flagged the role of a private company to whom the making of mark sheets had been outsourced.
और इस सब मामले की रिपोर्ट आने के बाद ये था कि FIR होगी, पुलिस कार्रवाई करेगी, पर हम सारे महकमे में गए पर आज तक कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई। कायदे से उस शिकायत के सबके खिलाफ FIR होनी थी, कुछ लोग सस्पेंड हुए, पर बाद में सारे लोग राजनीति के जरिए फिर से वापस लौट आए हैं। तो करप्शन जो हुआ था उसको दबा दिया गया।
According to the investigation, there have been serious irregularities, from preparing question papers to checking and re-evaluation of the answer sheets and issuing mark sheets. The inquiry committee found an examination controller of the university, a clerk and an unidentified contractual employee changed the marks of students before they were finally published, raising serious questions about the reliability of the university's exams. Mark sheets were copied in PDFs and Excel files via email, which opened the door to data alteration and errors.
तो ऐसा है कि कंपनी कोर्ट में चली गई है, तो हम लोगों ने अभी तुरंत में कोर्ट में विश्वविद्यालय की तरफ से वकील वगैरह नियुक्त कर दिए हैं, जो कि वो करेंगे और माननीय न्यायालय इस बारे में संज्ञान लेगा।
MindLogic's Infratech, the private company, has denied all wrongdoing. The company says that there was a lot of pressure on our project team by an official to compromise the sanctity of the exams, which we refused to oblige. The said official misused his position and, without following any due process of the norms of the university and without any official sanctity, had terminated our contract and blacklisted us as well on the 5th of July 2021. Since the matter is sub judice, we don't want to comment on anything about the individual official whose credentials are questionable as well.
संपूर्ण मामले का संज्ञान लेते हुए जांच के आदेश किए हैं। ये सुनिश्चित करना है कि यूनिवर्सिटी में किसी भी तरह की गड़बड़ी ना हो और जो भी दोषी होंगे, कितना भी बड़ा व्यक्ति होगा, उसको बख्शा नहीं जाएगा।
From Vyapam to Chayan Bhavan, the name has changed but the allegations remains the same. 8 years after the irregularities in admission and recruitment was exposed in Madhya Pradesh, same charges after 8 years in 2021. With Sanjeev Chaudhary in Jabalpur and camera person Rizwan Khan in Bhopal and Anurag Dwari for NDTV.
Welcome back. Now, provisions of the government's new IT rules for news publishers that deal with the code of ethics has now been put on hold by the Bombay High Court, which said that these requirements violate the freedom of speech. Let's go across to Arvind Gunasekar for more on this. So, Arvind, a big win for news publishers who had challenged these rules.
Yeah, Shara, very important order from the Bombay High Court. In an interim order, the Bombay High Court has stayed Rule 9 of the new IT rules. This particular Rule 9 of the new IT rules paves way for an oversight mechanism. So according to this particular Rule 9, there are 3-tier mechanism. that has to be set up by all media organizations, mainly the online media organizations, for regulating their own content. So level 1 consists of self-regulation by the publishers, and the level 2 consists of self-regulation by the self-regulatory body, and the level 3 consists of comprises of oversight mechanism by the central government. So many media organizations had moved the court, especially with the level 3, that is an oversight mechanism by the central government. So all these media organizations have argued before the High Court, saying that this particular the oversight mechanism by the central government gives the enormous power to the central government to interfere with the functioning of the press, and it's against the freedom of press. So many media organizations had filed several petitions across the country. So in a similar matter that was filed by a media organization and also a journalist before the Bombay High Court, the Bombay High Court has given an interim order today where the Bombay High Court has stayed this particular Rule 9 in toto, saying that the operation of this particular Rule 9 will be stayed till the completion of the matter. In fact, the central government tried to stop this particular stay order from coming, arguing, saying that this particular oversight mechanism is yet to be constituted by the central government. Central government has not yet constituted the members of this committee, and therefore there is no need for the High Court to stay this particular rule. But the High Court said that no, this particular rule is against the freedom of speech and expression by the media organizations and also the news publishers, and that's why the High Court has gone ahead and High Court has stayed this rule. So it's a very big setback for the central government. The High Court has stayed this particular Rule 9 of the new IT rules.
Arvind Gunasekar, thank you for that big update. And finally, the Assam Legislative Assembly on Friday passed the controversial Assam Cattle Preservation Bill 2021 amidst bedlam in the House, with opposition members staging a walkout after their demand to send the draft to a select committee wasn't considered.
Bharatiya Janata Party Khodoisya hisabe, Amar Mitra Dolor Khodoisya hisabe,
Assam's much-hyped Cattle Preservation Bill 2021 being passed in the State Assembly amid bedlam, with the opposition members staging a walkout. The bill has some stringent provisions on cattle slaughter and sale of beef. Cattle can only be slaughtered with government permission and only in licensed slaughterhouses. Cattle younger than 14 years can't be slaughtered. No transportation of cattle is permitted without permit. According to the bill, beef can't be sold or purchased in areas where most residents belong to Hindu, Jain, Sikh or other non-beef eating communities. No sale and purchase of beef is permitted within 5-kilometer radius of any temple, shatra or any other Hindu religious institution. The bill has penal provisions as well. Violators can be jailed for up to 8 years. And no bail for accused until public prosecutor has been heard.
Now, if a beef eating person do not eat beef in the premises or in a radius of 5 kilometers of a non-beef eating community, then there will be no class.
The opposition had asked for 75 amendments to the bill and wanted it to be sent to the select committee for deliberation, but their demand wasn't considered. They say the bill will hit rural economy.
और बीजेपी और ये बीजेपी और आरएसएस का जो गवर्नमेंट है, इस गवर्नमेंट ने तो मुसलमान के खिलाफ ये बिल लाया है ना, लेकिन हम लोग का लॉस ज्यादा होगा.
So we demanded that since we are not expert, there are expert in rural economy. So we demanded that to have a in-depth study about all these effects. Let the bill be sent to the select committee.
उनका संख्या है, ज़बरदस्ती कर लिया, लेकिन आसाम के जो जिनके पास ये हमारे फार्मर्स हैं, जिनके पास कैटल है, उनको बहुत बड़ा नुकसान होगा, इकोनॉमी के लिए बहुत बड़ा नुकसान होगा.
The government claims this bill will also stop the menace of illegal smuggling of cows between Assam and Bangladesh. Some legal experts, however, believe the bill may have to pass a legal scrutiny if challenged in court.
Sure that this bill will be challenged in the Guwahati High Court regarding its constitutional validity.
The bill was first proposed by Assam Governor Professor Jagdish Mukhi in his welcome speech on the day one of the assembly. He had said it was needed to protect the sacred animal that provides us with life-sustaining milk. The bill now awaits Governor's nod to replace the existing 1950 law. In Guwahati, Ratndeep Chaudhary for NDTV.